Hello and welcome to Journey Lines, the podcast answering the question, how did they get there? I'm your host, Kim Minnick. Each episode, I invite a guest to fill out a reflective exercise called a journey line, plotting the highs and lows of their career against a line of neutrality. With me today, Mindy Honcoop. Mindy, how are you?
Kim, I am doing so good. Thank you so much. I've been excited for this conversation.
I am so excited. I was just telling Mindy that we took an unplanned hiatus and we're back. We're dusting off the cobwebs and I am just so excited to have you here. And you're down in Texas.
Yes, I am down in Texas. Our summer is starting early.
Ooh, well, I wish you lots of AC and cool nights.
Yes. Exactly.
Well, before we dive into your journey line, I would love to know, what are you up to today? Personally, professionally, holistically, what you got going on?
I mean, I love where I am. I'm just feeling like I'm in the groove.
Oh,
I just even today got to have a coffee with someone that is also doing incredible work within workplaces to help people like rethink how they work. And it's just an incredible reminder. And she's been doing this for several years. And I feel like a baby. I feel like a baby in what I do, and it's just so refreshing to kind of, as a solopreneur, talk with others and just learn and just be in community. And it just reminded me of what a joy do I have to be able to get up every day and do this. Sure, it is hard, and I'm not alone. But it's good to be with others to just put everything in perspective. I'll also, I have started Catalytic Culture, a mastermind group with Marnie Robbins, which is a pilot program where we get to take a group of HR professionals and leaders. It's a group of 6 people. We're piloting this idea. And it's a 3-month program where we get to walk with them. They get to learn about human-centered design and agile frameworks, but in this group, also in one-on-ones with Marnie and I, and across 3 months, actually apply what they're learning to solve a real-world current issue in their workplace and be able to come alongside of us so they're not alone and they're not overwhelmed. They actually get to see how this works and be able to learn from others in the group as well. So it has been such a joy. We're in month 2 of that 3-month journey. And of course, you have great learnings. Of course, there's things we could do better, but it's been just a blast.
What a fun way to get like a little army of HR professionals out there.
Yes.
Like really helping rethink work
Yes.
and making it better for everyone.
Exactly. And not just going to another webinar, because often some of the things I was hearing, Kim, was, man, I know I need to learn about AI. I know I want to be rethinking how I work, but I'm just barely making it through my day. I am just trying to get through day to day. And I want to be doing it differently, and I'm trying here and there, but I know I'm in overwhelm, and I go to these webinars and I learn, but it's making it worse, because then I feel guilty, or I have this level of shame around, why can't I take those learnings and I go back? Why can't I find the time to make this happen? So that was also one of the many voices and one of the many pain points that Marnie and I were super passionate about trying to change the narrative to help people actually be able to learn and be able to apply that learning.
Amazing. I love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, it's great.
What a great thing. Well, with that, let's figure out how you got there. And this journey line is wild. I will tell you have your copy up and I have mine up.
I do.
And we are rare. This is a rare instance to start off kind of low. Dad left
when I was 5.
That's when you were 5.
Yeah, he left. I was running after him, crying, saying, "Daddy, Daddy, don't leave. I love you." And he turned around and he said, "That's your problem."
Delight of a human. Real number one there.
Yeah. It took a lot of years, because it's very easy to label that as bad. And after many years of great conversations and therapy, It really is seeing because my dad also is a broken person. Like at that was him doing his best.
Mm, mhm.
And he came from a very broken place. And I think in many ways, reflecting back, while we haven't had that direct conversation, I think in his perspective, he was like, I'm doing the best I can and it's not good enough. And I need to leave.
Yeah. Wow. That's I mean, a lot of years, a lot of
I mean, so
conversation.
many
What a
years.
place
That's a
to come
5-year-old
to.
girl that's hearing that. Yeah.
Do you have any relationship with him now, or was that kind of the last
Strained,
thing?
strained.
Mm.
And really because it's through my sisters. I have half sisters from my dad's first marriage that we didn't even know existed till I was 12 and showed
Whoa.
up and we met. And she's amazing. Absolutely love my youngest half sister. And we have such a close relationship. And she never knew my dad because my dad left her when she wasn't even born yet. He went to go get milk and never came home. And so her mom remarried, and she had this amazing adopted father, and unfortunately, he passed away at a young age. And so is what prompted her to find my dad. And so now through that, I have this incredible additional extended family, which is just so beautiful.
Oh my gosh. What a fun thing. I too have a very strained relationship with my dad and don't have the bonus family to go along with it. So, I mean, wild how some of the most valuable people in our lives come to us
Mm,
in the strangest ways.
100%. Yeah. Hmm.
So, at 5 years old, you start climbing out of this delightful pit. And
Yeah.
and the next spot on your journey line is actually another part of your family.
It
We're going
is.
up to like
Yeah.
either
S
the right at the line or just above, but
Exactly.
grandparents,
Yeah,
Dutch
oh my goodness, my
immigrant.
grandparents.
Tell me everything about
Wow.
them.
Ugh. My grandma and grandpa Wind were just they were I know this is so silly. My grandpa would always say, "Okay, how do you spell your last?" He's like, "It's WIND, just like it blows." And I always think, wind's so supportive, right? You see those birds just soaring on wind currents. And that's what my grandparents were like for me. It was like a breath of fresh air. A baked in dad and a mom, because my mom, had to go back to work. She had to completely set aside her passion, which was to be a counselor. She went to school to be a counselor. She set that aside to then start to become a bookkeeper and work in a family part of the business with my great uncle. And we didn't get to see her a whole lot, but my grandparents stepped in. We moved within walking distance of their house, and they really became. I had like three parents, and my grandparents just infused us with so much love. And yeah, of course, they had their unique things, right? Because we're human and we're messy. But yeah, my grandparents were incredible. And I was a part of this Dutch immigrant community, which I have written there too. My great grandfather, who passed away when I can't remember the exact age, but it was after my dad left. My great grandfather was this amazing human. He was my grandpa's dad, and he immigrated from Holland, from the Netherlands, actually twice. He went through Ellis Island twice. And he, was his Dutch roots are very important to him. So we grew up within this very kind of Dutch immigrant community within the Seattle area that kind of had a church and a school associated with it. Yeah. And that
And
community helped raise me. My mom always says a village raised you.
I mean, genuinely.
100%. Yeah.
That feels so unique, this like Dutch in
Yeah.
Seattle. What was that
Yeah.
like growing up?
It was interesting. because you have this richness of this family and this community that often, because I went to because I was a scholarship kid, the church helped pay for the tuition to go to the school there, because the school district in the area that we lived in wasn't the best, the public school. And so I think when I would when you meet other people on your neighborhood street, right, you're just seeing something very different. Like, people didn't know the grandparents. They didn't have this extended family or community. And it just, you saw how it really, I got to see community in action. And it wasn't like everyone, it's not like everyone was just this like love fest, right? You saw the people who were coming alongside and supporting my family because they genuinely cared and loved, and others because it was a sense of a calling, because they felt they had to, like there was no other option, because it was this community of the Dutch immigrants and you take care of each other whether you like it or not. And so, but how beautiful is that,
Gorgeous.
that you come alongside of people, because we're all going to come up to points in our life where we need help. And it was a place that you could ask for help, and no matter what, there'd always be someone there. And so I saw the power of community from a very, very young age. It's really helped shape a lot of the work that I do now. And why I think I'm so passionate about community building and connecting people. Because that's just what, if you went to someone in the Dutch church and you say, I have this and this, they'd be like, I know someone who you need to meet that can do that. So I feel like even 5-year-old little Mindy was like a natural born community builder and connector, because that's what you did.
Yeah. Something I've been struggling with lately, thinking about community. Similarly, I've been fostering my own, but
Oh,
it feels so anti-American almost.
yes, yes.
It feels almost like a resistance of I'm
Mm,
going to build community. I'm
yeah,
going to have more people.
yeah,
I wonder if you feel similarly as
yeah.
you kind of look across the great states of the US.
Yes, yes. Because I mean, even you can kind of say the nuances of like neighbors on the street growing up that are literally living right next to you versus this Dutch immigrant community that they were dispersed throughout Seattle. It's not like we live next to each
Wild. They
other.
were all literally coming together.
They are coming together, like, and driving, like, the church was at the center and the school of the community, or like community events, of course, right? But it's not like we lived all together. And so you would have your neighborhood kids that I would say that, there is a sense of, it's like a sense of sacrifice too, like to care for others, right? Like if someone needs help, like, if someone in the church needed help, like getting their car started, then any mechanics would like sacrifice their time to go help that person that needed. And so there's just a sense of, I think in others that I see around, I can fix this, I can do it, or this sense of even self care. I love self care. Please, whoever's listening to this, don't take that wrong. Like there's this level of self care that's so important, but I think it often can feel, even self care, overwhelming. That because if it's not working, you're like, how do I do more self care? Like that's the burden. Like I
Yeah.
can't care for there's an extent to where you can't care for yourself in some places. And you do need what my friend recoined in her work as a coach. She calls it we care, which I just love. And that's what my Dutch immigrant community did. We care, whether we want to or we like to or not. That's what we are. We're a community, and that's a responsibility for each other. And so I think I do notice that difference, especially when I lived in Switzerland. Well, we'll get there. I don't want to move ahead too
Yeah.
fast, but that was a
Don't spoil
huge
it.
difference that I saw. I don't want to spoil it, but like from my friends that don't live in the U.S., it's just kind of ingrained. Like even caring for your family members, right? Caring for your elderly family members. I have an aunt and uncle that I absolutely love that I need, and I wish I could be there with them there more. So yeah, I don't know if that's naturally, and my other international friends and I really bond around this because I think I grew up in that, and that mindset is just there. That's different from my friends that were born and raised, that don't have this kind of this international connection. And they were kind of born and raised within the US culture.
Yeah. Well, speaking of US culture and born and raised, you are not within the Dutch immigrant community all the time.
No.
And I see we slide back down underneath that line of neutrality.
Yes. Yes.
Speaks to my soul, being a nerd, check.
Yeah. Yeah.
First divorced kid at a Christian school sounds Man, that sounds like a title nobody wants.
No. And this
What was
isn't like
going
I'm
on?
ancient. I'm not ancient. There were divorced families happening back
Right.
then in the 80s. So yeah, because it would have been in the early 80s. So yeah, first divorced kid in my church too. First divorced family in that church. So and it was through counseling sessions with the pastor that really helped, I think, because it wasn't healthy.
Mhm.
My dad and my mom, it just wasn't healthy. There's a lot of um, kind of emotional turmoil that was happening. And so, yeah, it wasn't cool. Yeah, and kids are mean. Kids
Kids are
are
mean.
really mean. And I was kind of like, I was a nerd. So, of course, you're smart. And I just love to learn. That was like, I just was, yeah, I always was the kind of person that was sitting off to the side. I always had one friend though, Kim. There was always one other person that I kind of came alongside of that, the invisible kid that like it doesn't seem like anyone else sees. But I would be like, I see you over there. I see you. Let's us be friends. And so that kind of growing up from kindergarten on. But once I got into junior high and high school, and that might be later in the line, then the internet like really helped unlock a new community for me.
No, I don't think you have a new. No.
Well,
We
that
just go straight from Kids Are Mean to
to
University of
University of Washington.
Washington.
Well, I can really quickly the multi-line bulletin board system. I just came from a nerdy family. My mom and I somehow were gifted this computer, and we had the internet. This is like early on internet, right? This is like a multi-line bulletin board system, so you're able to like chat with people.
That
And it
was like my
had
brother. My brother is a few years older than me, and he was
yeah,
really big into that. And I was like, "What do you do
yes,
with it?"
yes. And it was a family-based one, and I think it was a lot of homeschoolers as well. There was also kids kind of in other, like, public schools, Christian private schools, so it was a really interesting mix of humans, and we would also get together for social events. So we'd play softball together, and so it was fun, but that, like, just brought me out of my shell. It brought me out of this, like, group of, this group of mean kids, and it's like I found myself. I kind of found my voice, and I found this incredible group of people. Some of them I'm still really close to too. And there were some kids in older classes. Once I got to high school, you kind of like, because in middle school, I feel like you only know the kids in your class. But once I started getting junior high and high school, I made friends with a lot of kids that were in different grades, and I found my nerd herd.
Your nerd. I love that.
Yes, yes, yep, yep.
What were you doing with the nerd herd?
I the nerd herd, and oh my goodness, such nerdy things. I mean, com as I said, softball, we're probably
I don't think that's that nerdy.
we were also, like, Christian nerd herds, so we were also, like, in our youth group and, Bible studies and, reading books together. When I was really little, I would reenact, like, books, like Little House on the Prairie. Me and my friend would, like, reenact, like, Little House on the Prairie, and it's so nerdy. But, yeah, so we would, watch movies, not so much video games, but, we would also go hiking, go on walks. I mean, I don't feel like really very crazy stuff. It's just so nerdy. It's like academic stuff. Foosball. Loved the
Yeah.
foosball.
Who
Volleyball.
doesn't? Oh, can I tell you? This just opened up like down the street from me. There's a new pinball arcade.
Oh, okay. I love pinball.
Would you
Pinball
want to come over?
and oh my goodness, I want to come over. And then do they have like skee ball? Because that's another nerdy thing we did with skee
I do
ball.
love skee ball. I don't know if they have it. I haven't even been yet. They like
Oh man,
just
that's like my
opened.
heart zone. But pinball, skee ball, yeah, and then roller skating. That was another thing we did. I used to choreograph dances in my roller skates. How nerdy is that? And my family
That's
would watch at 4th of
amazing.
July. Yeah.
That is almost as good. I used to, me and my friends had Sarah Cameron got a video camera. And we would do like Bill Nye the Science Guy
Oh,
episodes.
epic.
We would do
Yes.
music videos.
Oh, I love it. We would have been besties, Kim. We would have been included in my
You're
nerd
calling
herd.
it nerd herd, and I'm like, God, your childhood sounds so cool. What are you talking about? So now I'm just reflecting on my own childhood.
I love it. It's so good.
Okay. Well, childhood doesn't last forever, and
No.
you go over to the University of Washington.
Yes. Yeah.
How
Oh my goodness, that was amazing. So University of Washington was also because I'm a nerd, and there's a paragraph in my psychology book in high school that talked about social work. And
Mhm.
so then I was like, oh, this just makes sense. Like I've always had this passion to make a positive difference, work with the invisible, work to, help people that aren't seen be seen and help them kind of, and then in that one paragraph about social work, it was like, this is how you help people kind of, understand where they're at today within the ecosystem, help them realize a future desired state and help guide them through the change behaviors or iteration of change behavior to get them from where they're at today to where they are, where is that healthier future desired state, but also creating ecosystem awareness about how to better serve and support this population of people. I was like, oh my goodness, this is what I want to do. And so University of Washington was ranked third in the nation of social work programs. And my aunt and uncle, who I adore, both went to University of Washington, and they had me walking around that campus at a young age.
you know all about it.
It's a beautiful campus. And so it just all aligned. I had some other opportunities and scholarships to go to other spots. But one of those schools, I walked off the plane and wanted to get back on and go home. It was in Iowa. And I knew some of my best friends that went to that school, but they literally, when I walked off the plane, I was like, okay, what's this smell? Because it walked out, it didn't walk into an airport building, it walked outside. And the stewardess was like, oh yeah, I want to say it was the pig farm. But she's like, you can know which way the wind's blowing because it will smell differently depending on which way the wind. I was like, can I go back to Seattle? It's really flat here too. Where's my
There's not.
mountains?
What do I
Yeah,
look at
so
here?
University of Washington it was.
Amazing. And did any of your nerd herd crew go with you, or was this like a
No.
new adventure?
No,
They went to Iowa.
my nerd herd, we're still together. There's like a core group of my nerd herd that are still together, which
I
is
love
really rare. I didn't know that was rare, but I love my nerd herd friends. I sure hope if they listen to this that it's not an offensive. They don't find nerd herd offensive. We're so close. Like it was forged friendship under fire. Sometimes it felt like, and they're amazing people. They've gone on to do such incredible things. When I look back at who is in my community and who I know and who I've been blessed to meet along the way, it just blows me away at the things that they do now. It's just amazing. They're so smart. They're so awesome. But they didn't go with me. So that's where I met my husband, and he was at the University of Washington. And yeah, he's 3 years older than me. So he was a senior and I was a freshman. And when when you met I'm a goal-oriented person. And I was like, this is it. You gotta seal the deal. And so, I got married between my sophomore and junior year. Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah. Yeah. We're celebrating 27 years in a month.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's
yeah.
And I just feel like nobody got married in between my sophomore and junior year.
Once again, Mindy, what in the world are you doing? Because I never thought I was going to get married. Because of what happened, right? I just thought, no, I'm going to just, go own a business, eventually get an MBA, have a business, and I'm going to be a successful single person with my nerd herd friends. So
I thought very similarly. I was like, I'm never getting married. I didn't get married in college. It was, very shortly after, to be honest. But I was very much, I think when I met my husband, I was like, I'm not, just so you know. And then, here we are, married.
It's the person.
Happily.
It's the person.
It's when you meet your person.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
Any other wild college stories you want to share?
I was a study girl. I love the library. The nerdiness has never gone away, Kim.
I love it. I love it. So you graduated, I
Yes.
assume, with very high marks.
I did. I graduated. I don't even remember what the words are, but with some honors. I would have had a 4.0, Kim, if I hadn't broken my back in college because I was a dance minor. I broke my back and I had to wear a brace for 9 months. And there was also my seizures.
That is a huge.
Huge. And I was
These are
also,
even on your
I know. Well, it's hard.
Easter
I
eggs
can't
of your
fit
story.
everything. I can't fit everything. And my seizures restarted. So I have had epilepsy, like absent seizures. So it's not like I have a full grand mal seizure, but I've had those since I was a kid, and they had stopped for a year. And when I started college, I was seizure free. But they restarted, and here I am dancing, having 33 seizures in a day, and I just couldn't. I kept almost like tripping and falling, so I wouldn't be able to go to class. Well, that was right before I broke my back, and the teacher in that class didn't tell me about hardship withdrawal. She didn't tell me, so I got like a C or something, right? I got like a low grade. I've never gotten a C in my life, and it was in a dance class. I absolutely loved dance. I was a dance minor. And then I was in a dance company for 3 years as a side, like, fun job. But yeah, so she didn't tell me. So the next class, I'm like, I got the seizures handled because once I'm goal oriented, I'm like, I'm going to get this dance minor. I'm going to accept the C, and I go back to the dance, and then I broke my back. Well, that teacher was nice and said, I'm like, what do? I can't. I cannot fail. And she's like, well, don't you know about hardship withdrawal? And I was like, no, what in the world's that? She's like, well, clearly you can't dance. So here's what you do to withdraw. And I was like, oh my goodness, I was in this class literally just last quarter. And she's like, oh, you can't go backwards, but that's so sad. I wish that the teacher should have told you. And I'm just like, and my teacher knew about the issue. Anyway, so I still graduated with like a high score, but that C took away my 4.0.
Well, I'm going to give you an honorary 4.0. I don't care. I grant your hardship withdrawal.
Oh, thank you.
And grade forgiveness.
Yes, and teachers, be there for your students.
It's a wild thing. I was in classes of hundreds of students, but I imagine dance is probably
No, it's
small.
much smaller. Yeah, much smaller.
But also, yeah, like, why wouldn't you just tell your student?
I don't know. Maybe they didn't know. I have no idea. Who knows? It is what it is. So everything that happens is character building.
Yeah. All right. So you graduate, and then what? Do you go into social work?
No. Oh, no. Yeah, I thought that's why you go low here. Okay, because Mindy's goal-oriented, right? She's got goals. And I was valedictorian. I graduated with honors. And then I graduated with no job, but that's like huge fail. Like for me, that was a huge failure.
It is terrifying.
Because I was like in my final year of social work, you have to go through an internship. And of course, I choose I was working with juvenile offenders, and which was an incredible experience. And I loved the work that I was doing. A part of me was wanting to do dance and movement therapy. I was considering doing that with juvenile offenders. But I kind of went to a couple of the master's programs, and there was just something off. Well, because I was married, my husband was also in a workplace already, right? And he was going through some interesting workplace experiences, and he was kind of seeing my studies and the questions and the work that I was going through. And one night he says, oh my goodness, this work thing happened. He's like, I wish that my person would have asked me those questions. He's like, what you're studying and learning right now. He's like, that's what I wish my human resource person would have like helped with X, Y, and Z. Or that would have been a lot better of a training if we learned what you're learning. So he's like, you need to meet my HR person. So he connected the two of us, and we had the most phenomenal conversation. And she was like, oh my goodness, the social work she's like, I wish I knew that. And so that's where I started to see the need. And also the place where I had an internship with, which I won't say any names, they didn't have an HR person. So my thesis was like, why with the power of social welfare and social work within workplaces and the great need for human resources and and that lens and how powerful that is. And that was my thesis. That was like my final paper. And they read it and they actually helped convince them, I believe, if I remember right, to go hire an HR person.
Good.
So I know, right? But then I get really passionate about human resources. So I didn't graduate with a job. And then I had to go look for some work.
So what did you do? Like when I graduated college, I took the first job I could get because it was I graduated 2009, not a great time. So I took the first job I could get. What did you feel like coming up to graduation and not having a job?
I felt like a failure because I felt so called to do this work. And yes, I'm super passionate about human resources, but what does that even mean? Who's going to hire me without any background in doing this work? I also felt like a part of me too is like, you couldn't make the social work. Like there's a part of me that was so drained. And my husband even is like, Mindy, there's none of you left when you come home. You care too much. You care too much. And it also made me nervous about how would that be different within a workplace? And there's just so much self-reflection that happened during that time. And so I had to go from a place of feeling less than with a lot of limiting beliefs into a job search.
Great.
Which was
Let
not
me go
easy.
try to impress employers about my accolades.
When I don't even believe in me.
Yeah. Why would they cheerlead me when I'm not cheerleading myself? Like, what
100%. Right. If I don't believe it, why should they believe it? I had some really amazing mentors during this time, and friends, right? Because I had a lot of friends that were older than me that are already in the workplace. And that Dutch immigrant community was still there. So, I mean, just a ton of people, right, that really helped kind of guide me through this period of time. And one of my nerd herd friends actually is the reason why I got the job at Microsoft. So, and I was in this line, I was selected from a reject bin, Kim. My resume was in a reject bin at Microsoft. And I always tell this story, and I know he's okay with me telling it. But one of my nerd herd friends, he was at Microsoft, and he put my name in for an employee referral for a job within their university recruiting team. And he said, he put on the cover letter, it would be a sin not to hire her. And I was in the reject bin because I don't have any recruiting experience, and which I guess I can understand. But Larry Benish, who is amazing, and he was like the best manager, my first manager ever. He was amazing. I love Larry Benish, and I'm still in touch with him. He went to the reject bin because he was trying to build a different type of team. He was building a sourcing team, and that for university recruiting. And I don't know if it had been done before. I'm not sure about that. But he wanted people who thought differently. He wanted people who were coming at this from a different approach. So he went into the reject bin to find rejects. And so he created a team of rejects. Now, I don't know if the other people on the team were in the reject bin with me. I just like to think that. But they were amazing people from these really interesting backgrounds, and I learned so much from them. But yeah, good on Larry, because I wouldn't have gone to Microsoft without Larry. And so that contract job ended up becoming a full-time job, and that's the longest I've been at any one employer. But they had to kick me out because I would never have left there. I would still be at Microsoft if they hadn't kicked me out.
Were you in recruiting the whole time, or did you?
I was in university recruiting, which they called college recruiting, I think, back then. And I worked with I grew, and I ended up becoming the business. So they had school aligned recruiters and business aligned recruiters. And as you get more in tenure there, you own an entire kind of the what we'd call a business unit. So I worked with all of Windows. And I would go into leadership Windows meetings along with the HR and the industry recruiting partner, to the three of us together kind of own the talent plan. And that was super fascinating. I loved it because they used a lot of data. I mean, we were doing a lot of people analytics before it was called people analytics. It was incredible. We had it down to a science. And we had just so much room to play and innovate and to think about things differently. It was so much fun. But we also are doing international recruiting, and they restarted, I think, version 3.0 international recruiting. And I did a lot of kind of project management. I was the nerdy person on the team. So anytime like there's technology, I was kind of like the SME of all our recruiting technology that our university recruiting team used. And I was like the liaison with the IT team. So anytime they would update something, I'd have to learn about the update, learn how to train people on the update. I have to like let them know about any bugs or any issues or feedback that we had around future features that we wanted. And so it was kind of like this little baby project manager was being born. And in operation, I just loved fixing things. I loved being able to look at love looking at the things that how do we automate things? How do we streamline? I just naturally was always trying to find a better way. And so once international recruiting team started, I had some ideas, and that manager, who's also another great manager, he was like, "Oh, that sounds like a job. How about you write the job description?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, sure. Here's a job description. I think you need this person. How about you do that job?" I'm like, "What? I've never done this before." He's like, "No, you do this job." It's like it was like a project man operations role. So
Yeah.
that is what I did in the international recruiting team towards the end of my time there. But what's cool is we kind of like automated everything. But then, 2008 was not a great year. And you don't
No.
need to be hiring internationally when that happens. So I got kicked out.
Were you doing dance as a side gig
Yes,
while you
so
were at
I was doing
Microsoft?
dance as a side. I was dancing for 3 years in a dance company in Seattle. It was a nonprofit, so it was like volunteer. But yeah, that was a dream of mine. That was once again, Kim, it was a
Goal
goal.
oriented.
It was a goal to dance. I grew up wanting to be a dancer. I wanted to perform. So it happened, right? It wasn't exactly in the way I thought about it as a little girl, but yeah, it's still, yeah, it happened.
Check.
Check, check.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
Amazing. So you do your tenure at Microsoft.
Yeah.
2008
Yeah.
comes.
Yeah.
I assume along with international recruiting, a lot of things change.
Oh, yeah, so many things change. And it was weird because they let people go, and then a couple of us, I think they're really hopeful. They're like, "You're a top performer. We really love you. We want to give you some time to try and look for a job." But it was so weird. I've never seen this, and it was amazing. But they just are like, you can just come to work." And I was like, "I don't have a job." "No, you don't have a job, but you can just still come and, network with people." It's like
Find
3
a job.
months where you can
Come
just
find a
like
job.
find it. Yeah. Unfortunately, there were no jobs at Microsoft, but it was a really great time just to stay connected and network and
Oh, I mean, what's that like? Like, I feel like when I went through my first getting laid off, I spiraled into a deep depression.
yeah. Yeah.
And as somebody who very much aligns themselves with their work and
Work.
their
Yes. You
value
find,
with
yeah.
their paycheck,
Yeah.
ooh, it wasn't great for me. So I'm curious,
No, it
like,
was hard.
yeah,
I failed. How could it? Okay. It's like, I couldn't make the social work. Now Microsoft doesn't even want to keep me. Although when it happened, the manager of the manager who I love, and she's still an HR leader today. I absolutely love her. I went to go work with her at another company. She was crying, and I will never forget. She and I will never forget. And I was like, and she's like, "Mindy, are you going to be okay?" And she's crying. She's like, "This is the hardest conversation." And I looked at her. I'm like, "Are you going to be okay?
are you?
Are you okay?" But yeah, I just love I love people. I no, it was crushing. It was really hard. But because I had people like that manager and other people in my community, I was never alone, right? I'm never alone. I mean, I can be if I want to be, but it's about talking. It's about being brave enough to say that it felt like you failed, that these limiting beliefs don't stay locked in your head because that gives them power. And it was about disempowering those voices. And that makes it sound so easy, but it is so hard, Kim. It's because it's like those lies that those limiting beliefs tell us feel like, oh, here it happens again. This is another proof that you aren't really very good, that no one really values you, and you're just tossable, right? I mean, it goes back to the story of my dad left me and it was my problem. So it was reinforcing that old belief on that line. Social work didn't work out. That's your problem. You didn't make it. Like, you weren't strong enough to be able to do that work. Microsoft, they left you. They left you too. And so it's like constantly over and over again, it could be, but that took years to realize, no, these are very different circumstances. But our brains suck. Our brains suck.
Well, we want to recognize a pattern, even if that pattern is detrimental to who our well-being is and who we are.
Right. Yeah. Or, I think keeping us from realizing what we're called to do and step into. And, when we're being called to grow and to, I could have been safe at Microsoft, but then I wouldn't have had the rest of this amazing career line. I wouldn't be doing this awesome mastermind group. And it's because of all of that that I'm able to do it. And like some of the most difficult parts, these underlying moments are some of the reasons why I am who I am. And it builds that resiliency, and it sucks. And it's so hard while you're going through it. But because I have such incredible people around me, and because they taught me and modeled for me how to ask for help, and they were there, like so many incredible people. That's how I was able to get back above that line. That wasn't me alone doing that. It was the people in my life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's always the people reaching out hands and helping.
Yes. Oh my goodness. I'm getting like goosebumps. Yeah. Because I also got my SHRM certification. It was one of my closest people, Jen Porter. She and I were both impacted by that 2008 layoff. And she and I both went to get our, it was her idea actually. She was a huge motivator for me. And so I got my SHRM certification, but also just started looking for other things and seeing this time as a blessing. Like she really saw that time as a blessing. And like, what else do we do with this time? And I'm just like, okay, there's a reframe. Like this is a gift. This is a crappy gift. That's where I was at first. This sucks.
Well, what did you do with said crappy gift?
Well, said crappy gift got a SHRM certification. I also went on a mission trip to Greece. So prior to that, I'd been studying Greek for, 3-4 years at the Greek Orthodox Church in Seattle? Yeah, another story. I'm a nerd. Kim, I'm a nerd.
Studying Greek Orthodox. Well,
I'm such a nerd, Kim. If I fall in love with something, I dive deep. And so, and I love the Greek language. Anyways, so I learned about this mission trip to Greece, and I'm like, I've been studying Greek. I bet I could help. They could use my skills. It was a really cool mission trip too, because you're you're going out into the middle of nowhere, and some of these villages only had 1 or 2 people left. So some of it was like almost like a census to confirm, are there still people in these mountain villages or not? One woman was by herself, and she was fully functional on her own. She was getting her milk from like a goat, or I don't remember exactly, but she grew her own plants, had chickens. She was self-sustained, and she fed us this incredible meal. Anyways, this mission trip to Greece was like amazing. It was life-changing. And then I just felt like if you're faithful in going, I know it sounds crazy, but I even had enough, all my miles of airlines from all the international trips with Microsoft, all those reward points paid for my trip to Greece, the flight. And then it was also funded, it was also crowd-funded that trip because it was a mission trip. So I raised money because it was a nonprofit. And so that I was faithful in doing that. And I just felt like, no, do this and I will make a way. It was that faith. It's that faith that has led strong throughout my life. I just felt purposed. Like if you go, there's going to be a job for you when you get back. Because I had been interviewing like nonstop, and some of those places never even made it out of the crash like that. And so I'm glad I didn't end up in them. But like when I came back, I literally landed, and almost 48 hours later, I had an interview at Expedia. Because my husband had previously worked there and had reached out to someone and had set up an interview while I was on this trip.
What a hero.
I know.
When you know, you know.
When you know, you know. And when you're called to do something, I feel like if you're faithful in doing it, like I just knew, I had this weird feeling, Kim, that if you go, there will be a job when you come back.
So how long was it? How long were you there for?
The mission trip was, I think, 2 to 3 weeks.
cool. Amazing.
Yeah.
And you came back and you interviewed at Expedia.
And I got the job. Yeah. Yeah. And then that job was like, when you hire people that really should just be a problem that you solve through like automation or streamlining, or that was a job. So I basically worked with this incredible group of people. I mean, that's a story in of itself. I won't go into it. But within like a short amount of time, I want to say 8 months, I basically worked myself out of a job. My manager's like, that you're going to work yourself out of a job. I'm like, I'm cool with that because this is what really should happen. This is like the actual solution. And this opportunity came up for setting up an entity in Switzerland with Expedia. And I was like, sign me up to that project. I can definitely, I've done international, I know some about international recruiting. I can at least start out helping there. So I got onto that project. And because things were like in constant motion and kind of like, it was a constant change. And I had a manager that believed in me. She's amazing. She like gave me the opportunity just to take on more and more responsibility until I found myself kind of being the lead project manager of setting up that entity. Yeah. And so I had the opportunity to set that up and then had the opportunity to be there for 3.5 years to provide oversight for that office.
Did you ever have a moment you're like, how did Mindy, who failed at this, failed at this, failed at this,
yes.
How did I get to Switzerland setting up an Expedia?
Yeah. What in the world? What in the world? Like, how did this happen? And it was scary, right? Because I had never, when I was in Switzerland, there's a whole bunch of stuff happened that was outside of my control and where, people who were supposed to be doing things ended up being called to other opportunities. And there was this moment where I got called late at night saying, okay, you and the VP of finance are going to have to figure all these things out. And we don't know the answers. And there's a time zone difference. So peace, good luck to you. And I was like, I don't know Swiss employee law. I don't know how to speak French. I know Greek. And so I'm just like, who am I? Who am I to be here right now? But then I had to go back to all those low moments that we've talked about and say, what did I do back then that helped me get out of that moment where I felt over my head? I didn't know what to do. Once again, it's about asking questions. Who do I know that might know how to do this? Who do I know that might know someone? How do I be resourceful? How do I think outside the box? And I have the VP of finance. And so it was like all hands on deck. No one knew there was any issues at all. It all went fine. But that was that moment where you're high on top and that, yes, that all comes back. And you're like, who am I to be here? Who am I to do this? Then it's like those low moments actually then help you.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you're like, oh, wait. So how was Switzerland? You said you lived there for 3 years?
3.5 years. 3.5 years. My husband left his amazing job to come move with me, which is such a sacrifice for him. It was a huge sacrifice for him because it wasn't easy to find a job for him in Switzerland. He is so amazing, my husband. And it was heaven on earth. It was like a snow globe moment where it's just this like moment. I love like using it. It's just like there's nothing like it before, nothing like it after. And it is so much happened in that time that I go back and I just pick up that snow globe and I'm just like, yeah. And it's just like, it's like a touch point. Like it's just this beautiful time. That was just, you always wonder, what will I think about when this time on earth has ended? That will be like probably one of the first things. It's like one of the highlight. I think I put the box even like above some of the other boxes because it is kind of that pinnacle kind of moment in my life.
Ah, you got me tearing up.
Mountaintop.
That was just, I love it. I love it.
Thanks.
And well, I guess you didn't stay there.
Well, no, that's a low point. They had a leadership. You got to love leadership changes. And anyone comes and talks about their past and they say, yeah, a leadership change happened. And then you're like, and then I pause and you're like, well, tell me about that. And they're like, it was interesting. An interesting leader decision. I would not have made that decision myself.
I disagreed and commit.
100%. And it ended early. My assignment ended early, Kim. Let's just put it that way. I can't sell. I actually cannot speak about the specifics of what happened.
Would I ask you to?
It was a really S-word situation though, Kim, because Me and my husband had thought we'd be, and it was like it was supposed to be a longer duration of time than 3.5 years, which is why we made such a big change. But man, man, you can just see how much a culture can change with just a person, a couple people. I shouldn't say it was just one person, but just a couple people.
Or one person with a couple. I don't care.
I love how you're reading in between the lines, Kim. Yeah, I wouldn't say you're completely off.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
But you decided not to stay in Switzerland.
No. Yeah. And I was jobless in Switzerland. Being jobless in Switzerland's interesting. Yeah. At least my husband had a job. So I was able to stay on, but without, because the job is what sponsored your visa.
Right.
And so because he had a job, I was able to stay. But because I'd been there for 3.5 years, I also qualified for unemployment. And their unemployment system, Kim, is phenomenal. They actually give you career coaching. They actually give you a career coach. So I had someone to actually talk to. They do it right. It was phenomenal.
Lovely.
It was lovely. It was amazing. It's just that there weren't any, I did improve. I did learn French while I was there, but it was at a business level 1 is what I was rated at. And if I hadn't gotten a phone call from a manager that I had worked with back at Microsoft about a job in Austin, I would have they pay for you to go to language school through the unemployment. They pay for you to go to, and so I was already scheduled to do that. But because both me and my husband had jobs within Austin within 5 days, we just were like, okay, this is an answer to prayer. And Austin, Texas ain't bad. So.
No, it's fun.
Right?
Bats.
I know.
Bats.
I know.
Cool.
And we got barbecue and we got great music. And it reminded me of the Seattle I grew up in because it had great culture. And so that's where it's Blackbaud is the company. And it's just one of those managers that if they call you on the bat phone, you just don't say no to that manager. And she's a dream. She's amazing. And that was an incredible decision. So.
And you can't just do one thing. So you also get another job? You go to Blackbaud?
Yeah. So, I was getting, so Blackbaud was really great. It was awesome. But I was like, okay, the work-life balance was so good there. I mean, I came from these very crazy hours at Microsoft and Expedia. And I come to Blackbaud, which had this incredible leader that was really about well-being and work-life balance. And I was like, I have too much time on my hands. And I fell in love with wine. I never had drank. Switzerland, I didn't drink till I was 30, until I was in Switzerland. And it's because they have you would go to a cafe for a business meeting, and it was like McDonald's. It's, you go to McDonald's and you get the Happy Meal. Well, their Happy Meal deals in these cafes would include a small glass of wine.
That's so nice.
And then everyone's talking about the wine pairing, and I'm just like, and it's not like you don't do it. It's like you don't even have a choice. It just comes. It's served. And so I just fell in love with the art and science of winemaking. And so I was like, then I found out that Texas at that time was the 5th largest grape producing state in the U.S. And once again, Kim, nerdy Mindy in wine now. I was like, I need a job in this. So I started working on the weekends at a winery, and I got a level 1 wine sommelier certification.
Now, level 1, correct me if I'm wrong, that's a lot of the regions and what grapes grow where. And
yes, so you have to learn a ton. Yes. Yeah. You're not doing blind tasting yet at that level. You start doing that at level 2 and 3.
Did you go on to do level 2 or level 3?
I want to. That's a goal. That's a future goal. Yeah.
Do you know I live in Napa?
Oh, I know, Kim. You have offered me that several. I need to come. I've got to come. Maybe we build some type of little HR gathering, or we could do little learning Napa HR gathering. I don't know.
Oh,
we'll turn it into a business thing.
We'll figure it out.
After Blackbaud came HomeAway, I was at HomeAway was this interest. So Blackbaud also got an interesting leader.
Okay. Yeah.
Can't talk about that either. And so people started leaving and taking other opportunities. And it's not like I was looking, but once again, someone I had worked with let me know about this opportunity at HomeAway, because HomeAway was starting to be acquired at the time. They had just started the process of being acquired by Expedia to be a part of Expedia Group. It's now, Verbo.
Familiar.
So So HomeAway, and so they were just looking for a chief of staff to kind of help them through a period of time. And they were also going through an agile transformation. And so their whole company is working towards everyone getting into a similar sprint cadence and kind of agile methodology and way of speaking. And so this job at HomeAway, this was a dream team. I've worked with so many dream teams, but this team was amazing. It was so much. I've never had so much fun at work. I've never had so much fun at work. It was so much fun. Such challenging, such learning work. It's really where my human-centered design and agile work really started to codify, and it really helped frame up what I do today. It's like, it was pivotal time. It was always meant to be kind of a 9-month thing. And the leader that hired me, because, going through the acquisition, ended up going somewhere else. Which then when my manager, one of my prior managers at Blackbaud, called me about the Spiceworks opportunity, that was just a natural segue.
Have you ever applied for a job, or has it always just been a phone call?
Well, I was applying to jobs before Microsoft and then before Expedia.
I love it. No, yeah. I love it. It's phenomenal. So you go to Spiceworks, you become head of people.
Yes. And that head of people was because the person who had hired me, it was like a succession. I was a succession plan. And so it then ended up getting acquired.
I was
like, I want to stay here. People are like, why do you? I'm like, I am not job hopping. I really would love to stay, but it's like, my leader at HomeAway changed. That was, and the work was done. Like, he even said, this is really a 9-month project if you do it well. And then Spiceworks was my leader moved on. And then it was really great. Being head of people was awesome. But then we got acquired by a larger company. And during that, it was really hard because that when Spiceworks was getting acquired was also at the same time my grandparents passed away, and the acquisition, it was kind of in the same time period that all of that was happening, and so it was a really high moment as well as some really difficult personal stuff going on. But I loved being head of people. I got that taste for leadership, and I'm just like, I love this. I never thought I could do it. I never thought I could do it. I never thought I would be able to do that work. So
do you, hindsight 2020, as it always is, do you think those were just some limiting beliefs that you held?
Yes. Yeah, I do. Yeah, 100%. I think they held on they were strongly integrated into those past failures. And then Spiceworks, as it was getting acquired, right? I went through the acquisition, helped, get that team stabilized. But when COVID was literally just happening, and this
as they were getting acquired.
It was acquired in 2019. It was finishing that, and it was stabilizing the acquisition. But as we're going into the beginning of 2020, I was really starting to, it was rumors, right? Plus, I had a friend of mine living with me who's a public healthcare worker, and she knew about COVID. So
you had an inside.
I had an insider view, right? And it was interesting. Anyways, I started getting people calling me about chief people officer jobs, and so I was like, sure, let's see what that means. Now that this acquisition happens, I'm underneath, layers underneath people. And I got a taste for being this head of people. And so when TCP called and that opportunity kind of came through, it was all, that interview was the last we were able, it was the weekend everything was closing down.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was at the heart of COVID. And so that was being that chief people officer at TCP, that first year and 7 months, it was really building things from scratch because it was a 30-year founder-led company that had been acquired by a private equity. And they didn't have an HR. They did have HR people, but it wasn't it wasn't set up in it was more transactional, I would say, in nature.
Payroll benefits.
Exactly. And they didn't even have a system. They were doing it through Salesforce and QuickBooks.
Oh, bless.
So it was a lot about kind of reshaping and recrafting and building from scratch. And so that was May of 2020. And the private equity company wanted to grow through acquisition. And the first acquisition they wanted to have planned to do in December of 2020. And so without any system. So we in a very short amount of time, had to like roll out and create a lot of foundation and realignment. And we were able to make that acquisition happen successfully, which was really great. Yeah. But after, a year and 7 months and some very interesting experiences in that organization, it wasn't a fit. Like where they were heading, the CFO and I had different opinions of the focus of the future. And and he mentioned to me, you know what, Mindy, your problem is that you care about people. And I was like,
That's
yeah, but I also care about the business.
can be
But
both.
you can't not care about the business and the people. Like you have to do both. You have to do both. And he was like, really, Mindy, all I want you to do is maintain payroll and benefits. And I was like, well, you don't need a chief people officer then. And so then it was really transitioning away from a chief people officer role, and they didn't backfill the chief people officer role, and they also did some other like kind of interesting restructuring choices, and so that yeah,
I
so
wouldn't
that
have done it.
that came to an end in a very interesting way as well, which I can't talk about.
I love
I
this.
hate that there's so many things I can't talk about. And that, of
Oh.
course, leads me, Mindy, again to a very low point of, oh my goodness, I just had to let go. Like I put let go as a first words there because I was holding on to all this emotional weight and I just had to let it go.
You had to let go.
I had to let go.
Mhm.
I had to let go of what I couldn't, or see, I'm even using, so you have to be very careful. What I couldn't, no, it's not. I did a lot there. I did a lot of great things. But of course, there's things I couldn't do because they didn't want
Yeah.
to, they didn't care about it.
And honestly, you were there for a year and 7 months. You cannot
Yeah.
boil an ocean in that
No,
time.
you can't boil an ocean. And so I had to learn to let go.
I've been there and it's tough. It's like a breakup. It's like losing a friend. It is really like a mourning activity. Like,
Oh yeah, huge grief.
mm.
Yeah. And 2 surgeries later. I was just toxic. So toxic. And counseling. I did counseling too.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, really good. And there's just a lot. Life just like, it felt like just everything shattered. It felt like everything I
kind
had
of
built
came
up
crashing.
to that point, and not just me, like my community had built, because nothing I've achieved has just been because of me. It's either a team of people, a community of people, because I love to build things with people. It just felt like it was all taken away. It was all shattered, and I was left at the bottom. I'm not going to say alone because I still had my amazing people, but I just felt like bruised, broken, and just like what the.
Mm. What
When
did
I
you
say
do?
one swear word, it's
You're welcome to say so many.
that
As
was the
many as you
moment
want.
that was like perfectly just like it was my bottom. It was bottom. If I could, dad leaving seemed like a cherry on top. Like this was like this is I. It was really hard.
Yeah. What did you do? Down your
It was like
community?
one of the times where I was so, because I was just physically also so unhealthy. I had a friend that reached out to me. I love her to this day. She was like, hey, Mindy, I know that you're recovering from that last surgery. I really need some help. She's a founder. I just really need some help building out this new feature. And I think you, with your experience, I just think you would just really add to that. This is like a prop. She's giving me a purpose. She knew what she was doing. And she's like, I totally understand. You're still healing. Are you just laying in bed right now? Yep, I'm just laying in bed. Do you think you might have some time to be? I really need your help, Mindy. I need your expertise. I'm like,
no, I want to rot.
I want to rot. Leave me alone. And because I love helping people. And I was like, well, I might be. Let's see. Let's just see. She's like, well, just try. She even just said, just try. Just try.
Just try.
Just try. Just even an hour. Just like, and if you don't like it, you can just let me know. But I'll pay you for the hour. I'm going to pay you the hour. This is what I can afford. So I was like, okay.
Fine.
I held up my computer, but then it got the brain going and it got my heart rebeating because it was all about help. It was a functionality to help managers because our managers need so much help. And it was all goes back to the purpose of like creating great workplaces and creating meaningful connection. And man, it just freaking, it re-sparked that spark.
So
Dang
good.
it.
So
Dang
good.
it. It like
You were not left to
revitalized me.
rot.
I wasn't left to rot. See, this is people are
Well,
so good. And it just was like, oh my goodness, I love doing this. I'm going to be fine. You know, what I do might look different, but I'll figure it out. I've always figured it out. That girl that was left at 5 years old didn't rot in a pit. She thrived. She thrived. And that's, yep. And then that's kind of where I started interviewing again, taking part-time gigs because people are like, oh, Mindy, like that friend, oh, you have time. I need your expertise. I want you to come help me. Can you come help me? Can you come help me? But and then one of those help me's became like, oh, but our vendor procurement process requires business insurance. And I guess do you have an LLC? I'm like, no. But of course, because I wanted to help my friend, I go do that. So then I had Agile in HR, but I wasn't thinking of myself as a founder. And as I was interviewing, I got hired to be an advisor to a company. They hired a different type of chief people officer. But I realized that these interviews were advising sessions, Kim. And I really knew that I wanted to work with companies that were between 50 to 500 people. And then you know what? I love talking. You can't shut me up. Here I've been talking I'm so sorry. It's been so long.
perfect.
And I love that we're talking about this because I don't think this is the first time I think I've ever talked about any of this, Kim. Um, I've talked about parts of it, but not to this in depth. And I was on like I don't even remember, maybe a hacking HR. It was hacking HR was some of my early speaking because Enrique was like, helping build this content and I loved Enrique. And so I did one of those. I fell in love with it. But then someone introduced me as a founder of Agile and HR. And I'm like, oh, wait, no, who, what founder, huh? That's not me.
We don't use the F word around here, you guys.
Right? Yeah. And they're like, well, what's Agile and HR? I was like, yeah, well, I guess I did kind of establish this thing, but the goal still at the time was to get a full-time job. But I think people saw something in me that I didn't. And then I started to really enjoy the work that I was doing and it morphed and evolved and changed over time. And that's really, that's why I put Agile in HR 2.0 because Agile in HR in September of 2022 on paper was, yes, exactly. I stopped interviewing full time in January 2024. And that's when I really started to own and embrace and stand in my voice. And really just be, that's when I really found my voice. It was in January 2024. I feel like it was a rebirth.
I feel like I'm right behind you in so many parts of your story, but similarly, like I joke that I was forced fractional in December of 2022 when I was laid off, and then like finally committed and realized maybe there's something here in April of 2024.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, we got it. Okay, we can do this. We can do this 2.0.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
What's next?
What's next? Right? I don't know. I mean, what's next? And I almost like say I don't know because I don't think a year ago I would have said I'd be working with Marnie to try out this mastermind or workshop thing, this group thing. And I wouldn't say that my work now is moved from pure fractional to this interesting, beautiful, I don't even have a word for it still, but it's like this like mentor coaching advising blend of walking alongside the current like either HR leader or HR professional like seeking to grow or just wanting to even sometimes rethink how they work and they just need someone outside of their head to be their guide. And it's this blend of coaching, mentoring, and advising and helping them through the work be able to kind of find them. It's almost like it's like being able to be what the community was for me and all these experiences. It's like me being able to take all these crash and burns and now take that to come alongside someone else so that they hopefully have they don't have to go to the depths that I did, that they don't end up losing their spark, that they are able to stay engaged or find their purpose, their values, and through the work realize I can do this, and it can be done differently, and that how valuable and the power of HR within the organization, and how to be able to tie people, process, and systems, because those three things are how we do work at work. And we have to think about those three things strategically at the same time in order to be able to find ways to work better.
I have nothing to add. It's perfect.
I don't, it just like came to me. I was just like,
do you feel comfortable in the title founder now?
I do, actually. I really, yes. Because I do feel like I've founded something. Like I feel like it's now, I feel like it is mine. Like I do feel like it's something that it is a thing. It feels tangible, I guess, Kim. I guess that's the best word I can find.
Oh yeah. Well, where can people find you?
People can find me. People can find me on agileinhr.com. I'm starting a new newsletter, so that's also new. So there's I need to share the link. See, I'm really bad at sharing things, so I need to tell people.
They're in the description below.
I'll share it with you. I need to tell people I'm starting a newsletter. And also, did I mention LinkedIn? Yes, they can find me on LinkedIn.
Amazing. Anything else in your journey that you want to tell us?
Well, I mean, Kim, like you and the fractional people community have just been such a joy. And Els is, and I'm now I don't pronounce her
Ellis,
name.
Like
correct.
the island.
Ellis. Oh my goodness, thank you. Like my great grandfather went through. My great grandfather went through Ellis Island.
Twice.
Oh my goodness. Okay, now I'm going to remember because I always say it wrong. You and Ellis and the fractional people community, and I promise I'm not getting paid to say this, have just been. I've been through so many different communities, and it is the one that I've stayed with. It's the one that is a true community of care, and it reminds me of my Dutch immigrant community. And it's like a breath of fresh air, isn't it? Like you just go in there and like people are like giving and receiving and helping and supporting and learning and asking for help. And so, I mean, I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it. Like I love fractional people, and it's been such a joy to connect with you through there, Kim. And I mean, this exercise truly, thank you. This has been a gift for me because it's so good. And it is such, I think I mentioned before we started recording that this was such a healing experience for me. So
I hope you saw all of your successes. Like, I hope just like staring at this, you're like, damn, and those failures weren't even my fault.
Aw. Oh my goodness, you are such a joy. I mean, really, I'm not just saying that either. This has been such a great conversation. I hope other people feel inspired. I think my hope always is that if someone is feeling that they've lost their spark and at the bottom of a very deep pit, there are unhealthy thoughts that start to enter, and there's always someone. There's always someone, and just please, the one thing that it doesn't feel like you can do anything. The one thing that you can do is just yell help.
4 little letters.
That's right.
I'm running.
Yeah, exactly.
Mindy.
Yeah.
Nothing else to add from there. Thank you so much for joining. And we'll see y'all next time.
Yeah. Thanks.